Did, did you wash your hands yet? Let me ask you something. Do you hate greasy, chewy, crusty pizza? Yeah? What is wrong with you? Why don't you make like a tree and get the heck out of here? Great, now that it's just us weirdos left, don't you think the greasier pizza, the better? And who's got the greasiest pizza? Pizza Hut? That pan pizza. My heart, my arteries. But can we make a less greasy, better pizza at home? In other words, I'm determined to see if I could out-hut the pizza. Wait, that's not right. Pan pizza. It's basically a shallow fried focaccia bread disguised as a pizza. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So for our dough, we're gonna need some bread flour. So we're gonna be using 500 grams of our flour, to which we'll add 10 grams of instant yeast, 15 grams of sugar, 5 grams of salt. Next, I got the secret ingredient, which is instant milk powder. This helps our dough get that Pizza Hut cake-like structure for that pan pizza goodness. So we're gonna add 20 grams of our powdered milk, whisk our dry ingredients together. Next, we're gonna pour in 315 grams of water. We want our water to be warm, around 90 to 100 Fahrenheit. And lastly, 30 grams of oil, using canola here. Then using our trusty mixer and a dough hook, we are going to knead this until our dough comes together. Alright, so we should be just about done. We could find out if our dough is ready by the stretch test. You can stretch it and see light through it. You're good. We'll roll this into a ball. Give this a quick spray of grease. And we'll cover this and let this proof at room temp. Again, this is just like any other bread dough. They're all the same. It's only bread. So let's set this aside. It'll take about an hour. But till it doubles in size, then we can move on to the other stuff. So while we wait for our dough to proof, now is as good as a time as any to prep our toppings. If you need any toppings that have to be cooked, or if you have any vegetables or fruits you want to cut, now is the time to do so. So when it comes to making your pizza, smashing on whatever you want, be a grand old time when everything's prepped and ready. And so I do have some pineapple here. And if you're a pineapple hater, keep that negative energy out of here. This is my domain. You make your own videos and bash on pineapples in your own time and place. Got this red pepper. Just gonna sprinkle a pinch of salt, bring out some of that peppery flavor. Next, some champignon. That's mushroom in French, I think. Mushrooms you have to cook beforehand. So for the mushrooms, just a quick saute with olive oil and some salt, and then set them aside. And as soon as all the water has cooked off, kind of see them shrivel down and shrink up like that. These are done. And of course, we can't have some pizza without some mozzarella cheese. So we're gonna shred it. And if you don't already know the trick, throw your brick of cheese into the freezer for about 15-20 minutes. Helps firm it up a little bit, and it helps the grater grate a little bit easier. Here's a second secret that I found out. Take a grease spray. This helps release the cheese, which gives us an easier grate. I'm gonna grate this whole thing. Can't have enough cheese. Alright, it's that simple. No cheese, stuck on the inside. It's nice and lubed for easy cheese grating. So it's been about an hour for dough. As we can see, our dough has doubled in size. And then from here, you're gonna wanna beat down the air. The harder you punch it, the more like a man you feel. So all we're gonna wanna do is split this into 3 even sizes. For this amount of dough, you would use 3 of these 12-inch cast iron skillets. Unfortunately, I only have 1 of them, but I do have a 12-inch and a stainless steel. I've never done it on this before. It is not non-stick. Will it work? Stay tuned to find out. So how this works is 1.5 tablespoons of oil and coat the bottom real good. You want to make sure your pans are completely coated with oil. Next, we're gonna dust some cornmeal. This helps with it not sticking. Also gives a nice texture on the bottom. Next, we're gonna take our dough, kind of flatten it out just a little bit. We're gonna place it in, start pushing it, massaging it out to the edges. Make sure you push it out good because they will shrink. Come to think of it, I think I'm supposed to separate this into 4, not 3. These are kind of thick, but I guess we'll find out. And then just another teaspoon or 2 on top. This is how they do it at Pizza Hut, but I swear this is much healthier, right? So we're gonna set this aside and let these proof yet again. The longer you let it proof, the more air bubbles you get, more cake-like, fluffy pizza you're gonna get. So while we wait for these to proof again, we're gonna get our tomato sauce in and preheat our oven to about 500. So for our tomato sauce, we're gonna need about 225 grams of tomatoes. You could use canned tomatoes or fresh tomatoes, which we're gonna roughly chop. That's all gonna go into our trusty mason jar. And we're gonna add half teaspoon of onion powder, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of dried oregano, half a teaspoon of rosemary, quarter teaspoon of dried basil, quarter teaspoon of dried thyme, quarter teaspoon of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon of black ground pepper, and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of lemon juice. And then using our trusty immersion blender, blend that together. And if it's too wet, like mine is here, you could add some tomato paste, about a tablespoon. Using fresh tomatoes will often give you a little bit more wet, not as red of a color. I'm gonna add a little bit more tomato paste until I'm happy with my results. Give this a little taste. That's a fresh sauce. I like that. All right, now that our dough has been proofed, you can see tiny little bubbles being formed. They're lifting up. Looking at these proof now, I could probably tell that this was supposed to be divided by 4, not by 3. But if you like thick crust, you know, you could split it into 2, split it into 1. Yeah. I think it's 3. Split this into 3 if you're using 12-inch, split this into 4 if you're using 9-inch, or roll them out and see how they feel and how thick or how thin you want them to be. Time for the fun part. We're just gonna top this up with our tomato sauce. My saucing skills are terrible. It's not even at all. So next, time for our topping. For this one, I'm gonna do a double pepperoni pizza. It's when they put pepperoni underneath the cheese and the pepperoni on top of the cheese. Classic on steroids. And then cheese on all of it. Now, how much cheese should you put on a pizza? I have a rule where you don't measure cheese with cups and spoons, but you measure cheese by your heart. Make sure you get the cheese all around, all over. Oh wow, used all the cheese. All right, for this one, more pepperoni and some pineapples. Sweet and savory. What's the big deal? What is wrong? For this one here, get our mushrooms, red pepper, pepperoni. So from here, we're actually not gonna put it in the oven right away. First, we're gonna put it on the stovetop. This is the secret to this. All right, so on medium low, we're gonna let this cook from the bottom very slowly. And we'll check it periodically to see how it's doing. All right, so checking on this. See, our crust is kind of formed, at least in the bottom. See how? It's hard to see. But this one is basically ready to go into the oven. Checked on this guy. How do I do this without ruining it? This guy's also ready to go. And then what we're gonna do is, now we're gonna put in the oven, but we're gonna put it on broil. I know we preheated the oven, but we don't wanna put it in a cold oven. Putting it on broil helps get all the top part of the crust and our cheese to melt, and it all works out really well. We're gonna put our oven on to broil, and we'll toss this in for a few minutes. I think this one is still, it's a bigger pan, it still needs more time. Oh yeah, look at that. Beauty. So timeline, it's kind of hard to gauge, but ideally you want your cheese to crisp. You get dark spots here. You want our crust to be crusty. Seems like this one was okay. you're gonna wanna let these cool off for a few minutes or so. Not too long. You don't want to cut them in right away because the cheese will just melt everywhere. So let's get this off and see how this works. All right, here's our non-stick. Come on, baby. Oh, do you work? Does it work? Oh, yeah. Look at that. A little stuck here, but I'm impressed. Can you use a stainless pan? Yes. Yes, you can. Pull this one out for our big boy. See how easy non-stick this is? Beauty. Look at that beauty. It's perfect. See the little air pockets here? That's where you get that cake-like texture. Got our nice crust. Hear that? It's not greasy at all. Let's see how this tastes. Hot, 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 hot. Mmm. So, did I out Pizza the Hut? Well, I did make 3 here. But I think collectively they probably made like a few thousand since the beginning of this video. I don't know, what are the criteria here? It has that nice chew from that fresh dough, and it's crispier, and it's crustier, and it's definitely less greasy. And you know what? It's probably a good thing. So thanks for watching. I hope you try this out sometime. It's really simple, it's really easy, and if I kicked you out earlier, I'm sorry. Please come back. Come back.